We did it. Oh, wrong screen. Oh no, come back to me. There we are. Hi, you guys. I'm Teresa Coates. I'm the National Educator for Shannon Fabrics. We are back for Sew Together Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. I am excited to have you all here. Today, we are doing a project that has been often requested, and I'm very excited about doing it. We are doing the Darcy Hooded Infinity Scarf today. It's a pattern from Trish Newbery, and so we're going to be doing that. Before we get too far into it, I want to remind you guys that we always do a giveaway every week for Sew Together Tuesday. So we'll be giving away a quilt kit this week, as usual. So if you are able and willing to share the video with your sewing friends, your sewing groups, we would love it, and you will be entered to win a quilt kit. So at the end of the show today, then we will draw a name and you will win a kit. We'll ask you to get a hold of us, and we'll send you a kit for free just for sharing the video. So we appreciate you sharing the love of sewing with Cuddle with all of your friends too. So thanks for being here. I'm really excited to do this project with you guys. This sort of started in I think probably November that we started talking about this project, because we do a lot of the infinity scarves during the fall, of course, and even into the spring and stuff. We're doing them because a lot of places are cold. I live in LA. It's not so cold here. We were joking about it the other day when we did like the little pictures outside. My glasses were turning into sunglasses because it was so bright and sunny that day. But in lots of places, it's really cold right now. So we still need these scarves. So we have the infinity scarf, which is the one I was talking about that we've done lots and lots of times. So this is just the regular infinity scarf. We have a tutorial for this. It's a great pattern. You get 3 out of a yard. It's awesome. But it doesn't have a hood. So if you're in places that are extra cold, you want to be able to like put a hood up to keep yourself warm. This is a great pattern that we're using today. And like I said, it's called the Darcy Hooded Infinity Scarf, and it is from Trish Newbery. I'm just going to lay it out. We'll put it on at the end. Okay, so it is like this. So it has this cute little hood, and then it has a scarf that's attached to it that'll wrap around your neck. So we're going to use this today. And the first thing you'll need, obviously, is the pattern, which you can get from Trish Newbery. And she was nice enough to give us a discount code for it. So if you've not gotten the pattern yet, there is a discount code that is in our blog post that you can find. They may post it here, I'm not sure, but it is in the blog post, and you can go and download that pattern. It's super easy to download. You're going to tape it together. You'll see my version today, the taped together version, and super great pattern. So she's got a lot of other patterns. I totally encourage you to check them out. I bought a handful myself when I went there to get the hooded scarf, and then I bought, I don't know, 4 more. So it's really easy to sort of get lost in those patterns because there's so many great ideas. She has a tutorial for this as well using just knit fabric. So if you're interested in doing it with just a stretch like jersey, then you could check out her tutorial on that. I will say that watching a tutorial of how it's put together is a lot easier than trying to read the instructions. For me, I kind of need a little more hand holding. So I'm excited to be able to do this for you guys. So, all right, so let's get started. We need to have the pattern, obviously, and then we're going to use a yard of fabric. In this one, I used the same on both sides. I used Luxe Cuddle Heather Quartz, I believe it is, on both sides of this one. This one here. So the one that I'm going to do today, we're actually going to do 2 different fabrics. We're going to use Luxe Cuddle Glacier, I believe, and the Sparkle Cuddle Glitter in Viola, both of them. Okay. All right. So let me get this. There we go. So we got the pattern, we got the fabric. So you can do it out of the same fabric or 2 different ones. You want a rotary cutter or the blade. I'll show you how I use the blade, but I'm going to cut most of it with the rotary cutter today. You want a 9014 stretch needle. Stretch needle is really important when we're working with Cuddle fabrics, just because it won't skip stitches so much. So when you're using a universal, it tends to skip stitches. So a stretch needle is important. Felt tip marker for tracing our pattern. Flower head pins, of course, because that's what we use. Hand sewing needle, which is optional because you could just zigzag that hole shut at the end, and I'll show you how to do both. Polyester thread. We're going to use the Metler Metrocene, and then I have another one from Metler that I'm going to show you too. You want a self-healing cutting mat, obviously, to cut it out, and my favorite stiletto and pressing tool from by Annie's. So we have a bunch of tools we're going to use. It's actually a super simple project. And the first thing we're going to do is get it cut out. So let me move my stuff out of the way here. Okay. So here are those. pattern and all of that good stuff is here. All right, so I'm gonna move this. Don't let me forget to talk about the thread stuff. Okay.
Got it.
I'm so easily forgettable. Sometimes I get in the middle of it, I get so excited because I'm making this thing, and then I forget that I had other things to tell you guys. Okay, so I've got two fabrics here. This is the Sparkle Cuddle Glitter. It's so hard for me to say. Multi. So you can sort of see if we can get it to show up. It's not sure if it's showing up with the colors, but it's totally like a rainbow look to it. It's kind of cool. So this is what we're going to use for the inside. And then the outside is the Glacier in Viola. So it's a super pretty, nice purple color.
Which looks really blue on the camera.
Oh, it does look really blue up there. So it's actually very pretty purple. You can see all of them on our website as well. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the Sparkle Cuddle first. But what I want to do, see if I can get this to move. I'm going to show you. So one thing about this pattern is it goes the width of the fabric. So the pattern is wide and it goes on the fold. What I have found is that because Cuddle is 58 to 60 inches wide, sometimes it doesn't quite fit the width of the fabric. So I have to make it the tiniest bit shorter, which is why this has a fold. So I'm going to first lay these two out and see which one is wider. Okay, so if I lay these down and I match, you can see I'll match the fold here. Okay, then I can come over here, and I can see that my Luxe Cuddle is a little bit shorter. So it's about an inch shorter than the Sparkle Cuddle. All right, so I'm going to lay my pattern on here and see. I'm probably going to have to fold it, do it on the fold that I made. Yep. Because that little fold has been used a bunch now. So I'm going to use that as my pattern. Okay, so if you make it out of two cuddles, just regular Cuddle, you can probably get it out of here. The Luxe Cuddle, I've needed to take a bit off on all of them so far. Okay, didn't add or didn't change the pattern at all, didn't make it not work, nothing like that. So just make sure that they are going to be the same size. So since the fabric can vary slightly, you want to make sure that you're getting the right size for both of them. If I cut the Sparkle out first and I used the big size, then I went to the Luxe Cuddle, it'd be an inch bigger, which would probably ease in just fine, but it's not really what we want to do. It's better to have them both the same size. Okay, so I am going to lay this down. Oops, I want to put these right sides together. Sorry. Let me get that right sides together. It doesn't matter which way the nap goes in particular. You can think about it and figure it out. If you want the nap to come toward you when you have the hood on, then you could put it so that the nap comes toward the front of the hood, which is marked on here. It says face opening. So if you wanted the nap to come this way, you could place it that way. I don't really care. So I'm just going to put it on there, and where it lands, it lands. Okay, so get those right sides together, get my fold, get my fabric all nice. And then I actually have underneath here, I have my DIY style, the magnet board. I'm gonna pull that back just a little bit so you guys can see it's my magnet board that's under there. It's just been really well loved. So I've got my Olfa mat over the top of it. So, but I'm going to use that today. If you don't have one of these mats, which I know most people do not have one, you can use something really heavy to weigh these down. So I would suggest that you use heavy weights to hold the pattern onto the fabric when you trace it, and not pins, because the pins will distort it. Okay, I'm just going to use my magnets because I have them and it's quick and easy. Okay. So again, that's from DIY Style. So if you're interested, you can check them out. All right, so now I've got my pattern on there, and then I'm just going to get my pen and trace around it. And I'm going to trace around it and then cut it, rather than trying to cut around the pattern, just because I can get it more accurate this way. And I'm not as likely to cut off part of my pattern. See, because every time I draw on my pattern, I could have just cut that off. All right, and then I'm going to try, since I always say this, to transfer the markings.
Did you remember to transfer the markings?
I know, can you believe it?
I am impressed.
What? I did it. Okay, so you're going to want to transfer these to both sides. So after I get done, I have to remember to transfer it to the other side of this as well. Okay.
Do you feel like there's a preference for using the Cuddle 3 or the shorter nap on the inside versus the outside?
My thought was that it might be a little bit more comfortable. The thick is nice because it like sort of cocoons you, but I also don't really love hoods. So for me, I thought the outside being softer and the inside being flatter might be comfortable. I did it both ways and it's fine. I don't know that there's really a big difference. I think it's probably just personal preference. We'll see after I get this done and I try it on. I'll tell you which one I like better. Okay. So I think that either one will work. I wouldn't probably do the outside just in a regular cuddle because the Luxe Cuddles are so pretty. Like there's so many choices. You could really make it just extra. I would always go for a Luxe Cuddle on the outside. All right, so now I've just got it magneted down again. So if you were using weights, you would just stick your weights back down again. One of the things that I always suggest is that you also do it on the outside. So if you're using weights, you're going to put them on the outside as well as the inside of the cuts. Okay, and that's what holds your fabric a little bit straighter as you're going here. Okay, I am not cutting all the way through there. Oh, are we going to have to change a blade already? Okay. All right, there we go. Get that one off. I'm going to transfer those magnets up there.
Well, it's not like you do any sewing during the week when it's not Tuesday.
No, not at all. I don't touch the thing. Yeah. Oh, wait. How long did I sew yesterday?
14 hours.
Yeah. Yesterday was a day. Okay. So we get this all cut off. Oops. Get that. Okay. And then I come around and cut up the other side. Long ways here. Okay. All right, there we go. That seems like I might have hit a pin with this and not realized I did. Darn it. All right, so I've got my magnets. Now I've got this piece. So I should probably save my scraps, right? Every time I throw my scraps away, people are like, don't do it. Okay, I'll save my scraps. We'll figure out something to do with them. Don't trip on them when you come around. Okay, Hawk?
You got it.
All right. So then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to put my pattern back on and transfer my marks that way. You can also sort of lift it and check. I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so a couple of marks over here. And another one over here. There it is. Okay. And there should be one over here. And I feel like there was one more. Maybe I got them all. Oh, there it is. Yep. Okay. So now my marks are transferred. So what I found is that this will help a lot in making sure that your two pieces stay even because it can be a little bit, they can get a little off. Okay. So now I've got this piece done. Okay, so this is with the Cuddle 3. You can see that the mess is really super minimal. I'm just going to give it a little shake on the side here and get rid of it, but it's really not very much. Okay, so Cuddle 3 is really pretty not messy. Okay.
So did you have any problems with the rotary cutter and the sparkle?
No, it's totally fine. That's not what was causing any issue, I promise.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I have another rotary cutter somewhere. I'll try it. But I'll show you, yeah. It cuts right through them.
Yep.
No big deal. I'll show you. It cuts with the scissors. Let me see if I can cut it right over some of the Cuddle glitter stuff. Okay. Yeah. No problem. And you can see
soft.
It's really soft. It doesn't come off. Okay. It's great stuff. I love the glitter. I think it's awesome. And I know that it, when you wash it, it kind of fluffs up a little bit because Cuddle will do that when you wash it. It sort of like raises up just a little bit, and then the glitter is even better. Super fun. So yeah, the glitter is really soft. I don't know how they do it actually because it's ridiculously soft, and you would think it would make the fabric stiff and it would be weird, and it just isn't. Okay, it's great. All right, so I'm going to set that aside and then we'll do the glacier. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold it in half, bring my selvage edges over here, if I can find it. Okay, get this out. There we go. And I've got a silver Sharpie as well as my black Sharpie. So we'll see what you guys can see. I think the black Sharpie will work fine with me. We talked about, I like the silver Sharpie, but they do wear out faster. So I don't use it unless I really have to. All right, do the same thing here. Put these on, match this up to my curve or my fold. Okay, and this one, even with it on the fold, it's coming right to the edge. So if you noticed when I laid it down, it was like here. And then I was like, oh no. But all I have to do is give it a little tug, bring it out to where it's supposed to be. Okay. So because it's a knit fabric, it'll kind of want to like pull back on itself. So you can make it be where you need it to be by sort of forcing it. Kind of strange, but true. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to do the same thing and mark it with the Sharpie. I'm just going to come all the way around. I didn't tell people to leave comments, but they are, right?
Oh, yeah.
Questions, all that good stuff.
Totally.
So yeah, if you have any questions, bring them. Okay. Oh, no, look at that. It came right off the edge.
Uh-oh.
We're going to shift.
That's trouble.
That's trouble. That's poor planning on my part. Thankfully, I'll just remark it. See, this is like we've talked about it before, about marking it before you cut it. This is why. Because if I would have marked that or cut that other edge first, I would be SOL. But now I just go back. Okay. Give that a little tug. There we go. All right. Let's remark it so it actually fits everything. Now I have to remember which one to do. So don't let me forget, okay?
Oh, I can't tell.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I know. I'm totally going to do it wrong and be like, wait.
I was thinking maybe
what am I doing?
Gonna shift and you try to use the silver one for the second round.
Oh, that would have been smart. But, you know, that's not where I went. I will. Here, I'll do it that way just so you can see and so we can see how the silver is going right over the black. But the silver will show up. So that's what the silver looks like on there. So if you're using a very dark fabric, the silver will show up better than the black. This is not dark enough that it made any big deal or it made any difference really. Okay, so let me go ahead and mark these as well. Okay, so make sure I get these because I'm going to want them when I get this all together. Okay. And the fold I found was the most, like actually the most important one that I used was the mark on the fold. And because the fold line doesn't really stay when I open it back up. So like if you're using a cotton and you've pressed it, that middle fold line is going to be really crisp and you can see it later and match those up. In the Cuddle, because it's knit fabric, it sort of loosens up and you can't really tell where the middle is sometimes. So make sure that you mark it with the Sharpie pen. All right. So now if I had the space up here and I had the time to do it, I would probably lay this entire thing out, mark it on one side and then mark it on the other side and then cut it with my my knife. I don't have the space up here to do that with. So I'm just going to cut a little bit with my knife and then cut the rest of it with the rotary cutter just so I can show you how that works. Okay. So I'm going to actually fold this back just a little bit so I can cut the one layer. So if you're not familiar with using the, this is the Olfa blade. Okay, so this is the Olfa SAC-1 blade. And it is a super great little tool for cutting Luxe Cuddles and not having a huge mess. Okay, so that's what we're going to use here. I just pop it out a little bit. I have a pretty fresh blade knit because I opened it up yesterday. And I'm going to hold the fabric that I want to cut, and I'm just going to drag it along here. Okay, this is the easiest way to not make a mess when you're cutting Cuddle fabric. Okay, so you can see what happens here is it leaves all of this nap all on there. So this isn't all over the room now, which if you have worked with Cuddle before, you know, and you'll see it when I cut the rest of it, it can go everywhere. And it's the thing that frustrates people when they're working with the Cuddle fabric. So especially the Luxe Cuddles. As you saw, the Cuddle 3 is not messy really at all. Give it a good shake. It's fine. The Luxe Cuddle, because those The fibers are so thin that they really do like to kind of come off and float around. So if you can cut it with a blade, it will make a huge difference. The other thing, we're not going to do this here today because obviously I'm just doing this for you guys here. If you're doing this for yourself, what you can do is do all of this cutting, take it in the dry, put it in the dryer on no heat with a wet washcloth, and all of that cuddle dust will end up in your lint trap. And then you have very little mess when you're sewing it, period. Okay, so there's your tip on cutting. Now I'm going to cut it with a rotary cutter, and we're going to make a big mess, and I'm just going to vacuum it up. All right, but it's much, much faster, and we don't have all the time in the world, even though I would like it. All right, so let's try this again. Okay, better. I think I hit a pin with this.
I heard it that time.
Yeah.
I heard it skip.
Yeah. I must have hit a pin. Darn it.
Is that
Brand new blade, too.
Is that your new Ferrari blade?
Yeah, new blade. I just, killed it right away. Ah, sigh. Okay, so now you can see I've just cut off all of that. So the difference is, and I'm trying not to make too big of a mess, but you can see that the mess that comes off of here is much more so when I cut it with the rotary. So I'm just going to be very gentle with it and move stuff a bit at a time because I have a lot of mess to clean up when I'm done here. Okay, and the less quickly I move things, the easier it is to keep the mess in check.
That wasn't the trash, right? That was the Cuddle recycling bin.
Yeah, that's totally what that was. Okay, fine, I'll clean it up and save it for later.
There's discussion of wanting to raffle off your scraps.
I know, I promise I will save these. I'm just folding them neatly. But you can see, like, in classes, people have been like, you're just so neat and like quiet about the whole thing. And I really am. Like, I fold it, I carefully, then I can move this. And so if I take this and I could take this, like if this were the piece I was going to use, I could take this to the dryer, throw it in with a wet washcloth, and all this stuff would come off. But you can see there's going to be a lot that comes off. So the less I move it, the easier it is to clean up. Okay. All right. So now that I've made a big mess, let's use my little vacuum, clean it up. Okay, so now we've gotten rid of the bulk of the cuddle mess. There's definitely going to be some that comes off, so I'm going to give it a good shake over here. I would normally take it outside and give it a good shake, but we're upstairs in the studio. I can't really get outside very easily. Okay, give it a good shake. So if you can, just throw it in the dryer. This is the time that you do it. Just throw it in the dryer, get all of this cuddle dust off, and then when you start working with it, can you see it floating?
No.
Good.
The camera's good, but it's not that
when
good.
you start working with it, then it's going to be free of the cuddle dust. Okay. And the dryer really is the best trick for that. That way, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, you're not going to be shoving a bunch of cuddle dust into your machine, which is really important. So cleaning it up is really important for a few reasons, but one of them is it really keeps your machine cleaner. If you get rid of the mess at the beginning too, it's not going to sort of trail along with you the whole way. Okay. All right. So now I have my inside, my outside pieces. I'm going to lay these back together, and I'm going to show you the other way that I mark my transfer my markings. Is I can just take this, I sort of pinch it. Here's a mark. I'll just take it over here and mark it there. Here's another one. I'll just turn it over and mark it there.
You mentioned that the big goal for getting rid of the cuddle dust is to have it not get into your machine.
Right.
Is there anything that you've been doing, or what's your schedule for cleaning the machine?
Yeah. So, right, because you don't want to get it into your machine. And the biggest thing is to make sure that you're getting rid of the dust before you start sewing, and then cleaning your machine regularly. So I clean my machine out about once a week, sometimes a little bit more. So like yesterday, I actually cleaned it out before I started sewing, and then after I finished sewing for the day, because it was a lot of cuddle dust and it was a lot of different cuddles that I was sewing, and I didn't have a dryer to stick them into. So I ended up having a little bit more cuddle dust. So I try to clean it regularly, but at least at least once a week if you're sewing pretty regularly. And that's important whether you're sewing with Cuddle or with regular cotton fabrics. You'll find that it gets really messy in there. And there are definitely horror stories of people who have really never cleaned under their bobbin case, and then it's just packed. So you don't want that. Make sure that you're cleaning your machine regularly no matter what. All right. Okay. So now we're going to sew the top, and I'm going to sew this with the gray Metler thread that I have. So and then we're going to do a little experiment, and I'll show you some other thread that I've gotten from Metler. So this is just the Metler Metrocene. It's the stuff I use all the time. I like it a lot. It's just a polyester. Okay, I'm going to put that on here, and then I have to thread my machine. Oh no, because guess what? Still not fixed. I swear, soon. Maybe this week. All right. Now we'll get this threaded, and then we'll pin our hood. Oh, first try. That was great. I feel like I'm,
Nice.
with all this practice, I'm getting better. It's only been, 10 months of practice. Well, 10 months with that machine, without the, thing being fixed. All right, so now I've got my pins. You could pin a couple of different ways. I'm going to pin this end together, and I'm going to pin this end together. And then I'm going to do the double pinning that I like on this one, and on the other, I'll just do the regular perpendicular pinning. So if I do this double pinning, it tends to hold the fabric a lot better. And so what I want to do is be able to pin it so it kind of goes in a zigzag fashion. And so as I'm sewing, these pins are going to come out and these pins are going to stay. When I sew this, I'm also going to sew it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I have to go back and check it real good. So the pattern is originally written that way, and it's made to be serged. And so that will take that small little seam allowance. I'm going to try to do the same thing here. And if I don't get it, I'll come back and catch it. All right, but this will help to sew it a little bit easier. So I'm going to take this one now. We're going to hold on half a second. We're going to pin this guy at the same time so we can just sew one and then sew the other. Okay, then you can see the difference in how the pinning works. I want to pin this one a little bit more densely, so I did the zigzag double pinning. The Cuddle 3 won't move quite as much because the nap is not nearly as thick. This is 3 millimeters. This is 10. So you can see that it doesn't slip and slide as much. So this one, I'll get this up here and pin the beginning and the end. If I can easily find a middle, I'll do that too. So like I could pin here where my notches are. Notches, they're just marks, but you know what I mean. Okay, and then I'll pin in between here. We can see, how that works. And I'm just going to pin so that they're every couple of inches, or I guess about maybe 1.5 inches. If it starts to move too much on you, just add more pins. It's much easier than trying to fight the fabric. It's just to pin it more. So if you find that it's moving too much on you still, just throw some more pins in there. All right, so let's sew this one first, and then we'll sew the Cuddle, the Luxe Cuddle. Okay, so I've got it on my straight stitch. I'm going to bump it up to a 3 if I can get it to work. Hello? Why is my... Oh, well, let's turn it off and back on. Hard reset. Come on, baby. You can do it. Okay, it's on the right one. There we go. Just needed some love. Okay, so I've got it on. This is my 1/4 inch mark. I'm going to grab my handy dandy stiletto and take my shoes off because that's the way I sew. Okay, so I'll put my needle down. I will backstitch just a little bit. And then I'm just going to follow right along here. So the Cuddle 3 is going to sew really easily because it just does. So if you're new to sewing with Cuddle, remember that this is the easier stuff. You can do lots of things with it. So if you're trying out a new pattern, this is a great way to start too.
All right, we're going to skip ahead a little bit. There's a question. Can you do this on the serger?
Yes, you can. I did it the other day on the serger, and it totally works.
without engaging the knife.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'll show you a sample, the sample I did in just a second. So here is my piece. I can look, make sure I caught all of my seams, 1/4 inch seam all the way. All right, that looks pretty good. Look at the little sparkle in there. Okay. Makes it a little extra fun to sew. All right, let's move my pins out of the way. Now I'm going to do it with the Luxe Cuddle. And I'm going to crank this, put my needle down so that I make sure and miss my pin. Now you can see that this already wants to kind of bunch up. So I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of a pull. So it's a little tension. Go forward a couple, go back, stitch to the edge. And I'm going to bring this through. So if I kind of pull it just a little bit, so I'm not really pulling it to make it straight. I'm just kind of giving it a little, I don't know, tautness as it goes. And then I can use my stiletto to sort of feed that underneath. That's why I honestly love this, because you can see all of this puff here. If I hold my stiletto on it and kind of feed it underneath, it's just going to go under there nice and even. Just make sure I take my pins out. You can see these pins. This is one of the reasons I love these flat flower head pins, is the machine will just run right over that foot, will just slide right over it. And this is whether you're using the digital dual feet on a baby lock or a brother, or you're using traditional walking foot. These will go right underneath it. So this is one of the reasons that I love those pins, besides the fact that they're sharp and long and all that good stuff. But they're so much better for this sort of thing than the ball head pins, because those will just get stuck. Okay, I'm just going to sew all the way here. And then we'll come up to the end and I will back stitch again. Cut my thread. All right, so now I can check my seam, make sure I caught everything. Got a little bit wide there on the bottom side, but that's okay. A little bit narrow there, so I'm going to come back over and catch it because I didn't quite catch the end. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take out just a stitch or two. Okay, that way I can get that to even back up, and I'm just going to start in a little bit and head toward the end. All right, and that happens because we've got a lot of fluff there that it's somewhat hard to see that, the raw edge. All right, take those pins out. Move this back over. So catching it a little bit big, not a big deal. We do want to make sure that we get everything secured though. All right, so I'm just going to stitch a little, back stitch over that, and then come down and get my 1/4 inch the rest of the way. All right. Now that's taken care of. All right, let me grab my pins. See if I can get these out of the way just a little. Okay, so now I've got my two pieces. So I've got my outside piece and my inside piece, right? So this is my outside, the Luxe Cuddle, and this is the inside, the regular Cuddle. So what did I do with the sample? Oh no, I don't know what I did with it. Is it still hanging on the door, Hawk?
Yeah.
Hold on.
I might have moved it even further.
Oh, you did. Okay. That's okay. It's no big deal.
The door to the studio wouldn't shut. I didn't realize it was important.
Didn't realize it was my sample. So I did the other day, and I made one. And what I did was I accidentally put them so that they were like this. So you can see these don't match. But I didn't realize that they weren't matching. I just started putting them together, and then I couldn't understand why the ends didn't match. And I was so perplexed by why I would have to ease in this much. It didn't make any sense to me. I made the whole thing super frustrated, couldn't figure out what I did, and then I made another one and realized this is what I did. So don't do what I did. Okay, make sure that you lay them together first, figure out which way the hood goes, because this little swoop is really easy to sort of, I don't know, get confused as to which way is which. All right, so I'm going to do this where I turn inside out, because what I want is these to go right side together. So now if I do it, I can see these match. Okay, I'm going to show you what it looks like when they don't match. so that you can remember that's what it is. So lay it together to make it match first, because it's really far off, but you can actually like try to make this match. Don't do it. Okay. Okay. So this is how it goes. Now I've got an inside and an outside. So this is the part that I do like this. And then I put my inside and outside together here. Okay. Now I'm going to pin these. And the larger swoop is the front. So when we lay this out, you can see that this swoop, this curve here, is much larger than the back. This is the back neckline. This is the front facing. So this is the one we want to sew together first. All right. So we did talk, you mentioned briefly about the serging. So I'll show you this. Okay, you can zoom in on that while I pin this up a little bit. So this was some serging that I did with the Cuddle. You can absolutely serge this whole project and it will absolutely work, no problem. The only thing that I do is I set it a little bit wider stitch and a little bit longer stitch. So I use the wide overlock. I used a 4 thread and I changed the stitch length to 4. And then I put my needle down, or my knife down. So I put the knife down so that I'm not cutting off my edge as I sew. And really the only reason I do that is to avoid the extra mess that will happen if I'm cutting the Cuddle as I serge it. And I want to try to avoid that. So right here, what I'm doing, so I match this notch, and then I'm going to come over here and I can match these. They're not technically notches, but you know what I mean. Okay, my little markings. So I got those to match, and then this is the other marking. So now in between, I can get these to match. So this is the easiest way to do it, to not have a lot of frustration that you have gotten somewhere and it's gotten really big on one side, because sometimes that'll happen because we are doing this on the stretchy side. So it's really easy to start pushing this and stretching it without realizing it. So use those notches to keep your fabric nice and even as you go. All right, so we're going to stitch or pin all the way around this. Oops, I just took my pin out. And then we'll sew all the way around the front side of this. So at this point, I'm going to switch my thread out pretty quick here after I get this pinned. And we're going to switch it over to a different thread called Seriflex, which is, that was exciting. Barely caught my finger and there it went. That is called Seriflex from Metler. So it's another Metler product. And they sent this to us a while ago to try out. And I've tried it a little bit. I think it works really well. So we're going to try it on these seams because this is a stretch side and this you want to stretch over your head. So I feel like it would be a good choice for this project. So we're going to give it a try. I'll show you in half a second here why the thread makes a big difference. We always say, oh good, we always say to use a polyester thread. And the reason we say that is because polyester is a stronger thread. So it's stronger than cotton and it has a little bit of stretch because of the type of fat or type of material it is. It'll have more stretch than traditional cotton thread will. So see, this is a little bit big there. So I'm just going to take this, kind of ease it out just a little. There we go, all better. So now this is ready to sew, but let me show you this really quick. So this is the Seriflex here. And I have, look at that, I got myself prepared with a bobbin and the spool. You can't really see, but it definitely has some stretch here to it. So it has some extra give, which is great. We traditionally use the poly, and that's what I used here, is just the Metrocene. And it has a little bit of stretch. I wanted to show you with cotton though, because I get the question a lot of, can I use cotton? And I love Aurifil cotton and I use it a lot for quilting, but with the Cuddle, it isn't as good because it will pop. So with the Seriflex, I can grab this and I can pull it. Okay, I can pull this whole thing. So you can see it has a lot of flexibility. If I do this with the cotton, I can feel it. There it goes.
I heard a stitch pop. Nope, there it goes.
And see, now I can get it to all stretch open because the thread is there. So if I hold just a little bit and I stretch it, it'll totally pop it in different places. So you can see this is what happens. So if I have a stretch and I can stretch it like this, like it's not gonna pop now because I've already broken it, but I could do the same thing here. and it's not going to pop that. Okay, so I can give that a good tug. See, look at that. And it's not popping at all. Okay, so that's the difference. Got the fabric to curl really well, but it didn't pop your thread at all. So that's the big difference, is that if you use a cotton in here and it gets some sort of a tug like that, nice sharp pull, it's going to break your thread. All right. And it's not because the thread is bad or anything like that. Cotton just has its own purpose. And that is really, like in quilt making, it's very, very good for quilt making because you want to keep it with the same type of fabric. With this sort of a project and with Cuddle in general, we want to use a polyester thread because it will have more stretch. This thread I want to use because this part of the hood will actually need more stretch to come over your head. I didn't have any problem with the polyester thread, but I thought I'm just going to use it. So that's what we're going to do. If it ends up being, not as good for this project as I think it will, then we'll switch the thread back. But I did get a bobbin. They said in the paperwork, because I read the manual, that it says that you should use it for the bobbin and the top, which is what we're going to do today. And I'm just going to rethread this real quick. Since I've gotten so good at threading it.
Did you just jinx yourself?
I did.
Uh-huh. I heard that.
Yep.
No.
Got it.
Nice.
All right. And then I'll change my bobbin as well. Okay. Put that in there. All right. So now we'll give that a try. All right. Oops. Hold on. I messed things up. All right. Okay. Oh, and Michael put up a question there about is the scarf reversible? Absolutely. And could it be used with embrace fabric? And I totally think that it could. I have not tried it, but I don't know why it wouldn't. The embrace has a little bit of kind of natural stretch to it because of the kind of fabric that it is, because it's like an open weave. So the only question I would have is it wouldn't be wide enough, so you would have to piece it. So it might be something where you could do like a middle section that would be a different fabric or different print. Okay, because the big problem would be the width of the fabric. All right, because this is made for 60-inch wide, and embrace only comes 48, 50 inches wide. All right, let's see how this works. So I'm just going to stitch all the way around this. Try to keep it nice and flat here. Where's my stiletto? Okay, so I keep it so I can see both the top and the bottom, and I'm just doing a straight stitch. You can see that's what I did with that little sample that I showed you guys. It was just a straight stitch too. I often get asked if you need to use a stretch stitch because it is a stretch fabric, and the answer is no, as long as you are using a polyester thread. Or this is something called PTT, I think. It was a big fancy chemical name. I'm not sure exactly what the fiber content is, but it is a different kind of thread, so it is not a polyester. All right. Okay. So we're just going to work our way around here, and I'm just going to do a little bit at a time because this has a bunch of curve. The next part is even more, not finicky, but got to be careful. Okay. And then as you can see, I'm kind of keep straightening this up over here because it tends to want to get a little bit bunched under there. And I want to make sure that as I'm going through, I'm getting it nice and flat and grabbing both layers. Okay. And I could see I was getting a little bit off on the back. Hopefully I caught it before it got too far off. If you want to be extra careful with this, if you do the double pinning parallel, it's slower to pin, but more accurate. Okay, so now we're going to go over this little hump, and I'm going to try to get my seams to go in different directions. I'm going to try to nest them a little bit so it'll lay a little flatter right there.
Oh, this is an interesting thing. Somebody, Lori mentions, I think because I'm left-handed, I would use left of foot, not right. I have issues with that stiletto.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, because your dominant hand is here and trying to control it. Yeah, it would probably be a little different. Sorry. I'm not
There's
ambidextrous.
got to be a way to work that out.
There's got to be. Maybe practice. It took me a little while to get used to being able to use the stiletto just in general, because I knew it worked, but I couldn't get my, like, the muscle memory to kick in.
When I used it, when I was making that little Kimber Bear, it scared me because I kept thinking that I was going to run the stiletto under the foot
Right.
too far.
Yeah, which you can absolutely do, and then you will shatter your needle. So make sure that you don't do that. But honestly, most of the feet, like, you have to really try to get it over there too far.
Also, I'd rather shatter the needle on the stiletto than my finger.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great way of keeping your finger away from the needle. Absolutely. And it just kind of holds the fabric. As I use it, I can kind of, so this stiletto, if you've watched very many of the tutorials, like, I use it all the time. And the thing I like about it is I can actually stab through this top one and grab the bottom one, and I can control both rather than trying to, like, hold this tight enough, which you can see it just slides around on there. But I can literally, like, shove this through and grab the bottom one. Okay, so it gives me a whole lot more control over things I would otherwise have. So I really like it. Let's make sure my stitches are still going. Yep. Sure I didn't break any thread or something crazy. All right. All right, so now we're going to come over here, and I will come right back over this, and I'll do a little back stitch, and then we'll check and see where I have to fix it, because I was bound to miss something over there. All right. So let's see. I'll go around, give it a once over. So some places get smaller. That got tucked in, but that should be fine. So we want to make sure I got a little funky right there. It'll be fine. If I wanted to fix it, I could, but I don't really. Oh, look at that. I think I actually caught it all. That's great. Okay.
Can you go back to that place where it was folded in?
Yeah. Yep. So this is the seam allowance is folded in over the top of it.
Got it. And that's totally fine.
Should be totally fine.
All right.
So this is what you can do to check it, is just stick your fingers under here and push it and see if you get a finger that pops through, and that's when you fix it. So nothing popped through there, so we're good. Okay, this is where it gets it got a little bit confusing for me. Oh, this is going to be so pretty. Look at that. Okay, what I wanted to do was just sew this side up. You can't do that, and it absolutely doesn't work, because then you can't turn it into the tube. So it's this funky thing, because it's now a tube that we're sewing. We have to sew it together a little bit weirdly. All right, so we want to turn it like this. This is how it's going to look. Super cute. Look at that. I love the little cuddle glitter stuff sticking out. All right, so now I have a notch here. This is where I want to start it. So I have a notch there, and I should have a notch somewhere over here. A mark. Sorry, I'm going to try to say mark. Okay, so now these are the two places that I want to start sewing together. I want to start sewing them so that they will sew like this.
Whoa. That looked like magic on camera.
It looked like magic. Okay, so then I'm going to get these back together, and this is where I'm going to start sewing, and then I'm going to turn it inside out. I'm going to show you this one more time so that it is a little bit less confusing, because it was still confusing for me.
Demystify it.
But you got to do it a couple of times to see what is actually happening here. And it'll make a lot of sense as I start to go. You'll see a little bit more about what's happening. So these are my two marks. This is where I know these two want to sew together to make it work. So if I sew these seams, this will work, and it'll become that shape that I want. So I'm going to take these, and I'm going to turn them so that their seam allowances are toward each other. So pretending they're sewn already. If I can get that guy to turn in. Okay, so this is how they'll be when they're sewn. It's just like this. They'll be touching this way. So now I'm going to come in here, grab it with my fingers, and turn it inside out. So I'm just holding those very carefully. If I can pull that up, there we go. Now I can grab these two and reposition it. So the trick is just to hold really tight until you have it repositioned the way that you want it to. There's our lucky pin. All right, so this is where I want to start. And this is where I'm going to stop, is just past this this seam. And I know that I want those two to match. So I'm actually going to use this white one here. Okay, that's going to be my stopping point, but I'm going to start here. So I'm going to sew from this side. So this is where it starts getting weird. And you're just going to pull it and sew it and pull it and sew it until you make your way around. This, as you can see, does not make any sense at all. But I promise that it will work, okay? This is where you're going to use those notches that we've made or the marks that we've made as well. So I'm going to come along here. I'm going to find, here's a mark. I'm going to get those to match up. And then I'll pin in between. And I'm going to pin just a little bit. And I may have to come over and, you know, fix a couple of them. We'll see. But I'm not going to pin too much. I'm going to pin along the way here. And then it's going to have to transition to sewing and pinning at the same time, which is funky, but will work. Okay, I have another one. There it is. I'm trying to find my next mark, which is here. So this is, I believe, my center. So I'm going to get to here and then we'll start sewing. What are you laughing at?
Somebody said you didn't say ta-da.
Ta-da. Well, that's because it hasn't turned around yet.
Nah, fair enough.
Yeah, just wait. It'll happen.
That was Carol.
Don't worry, we're not done yet. Hasn't been quite the reason to ta-da yet. It's such an easy project though. This is great. And like this is the part that you can do with your serger. When I did it yesterday, day before I made it with the serger, the one that I showed you with the heather quartz is done on the serger. And I pinned a few of these and then I just slowly worked together. I posted the video over on our I Love Cuddle group. So if you're not part of that yet, go on over and you can join us there. You get a little inside scoop on stuff. All right, so now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put this back under my machine. So you can see that this is a big wad of stuff. This is where it starts to turn inside out. So if you're familiar with making, if you've ever made the Infinity Scarf, you know there's like a tube and it twists and it comes in. This is where this is, but because this is continual and has that extra hood, it gets a little weirder.
There's no twist in it.
Like there's no twist with like the Infinity Scarf though. Yep, okay. Exactly. Okay. I'm going to put my needle down, make sure all my pins are out. I'm going to start by holding that, do a little back stitch, and then we're gonna stitch around. Okay, and I'm using the 1/4 inch seam allowance again. Like I said, if you want to do this on the serger, you can, and you can see this ends up being, it's a little bit more than 1/4 inch, I believe, maybe around there, but this worked absolutely fine. Okay, this was the 4 thread overlock is what I used for it on my Baby Lock Triumph is what I have. So this whole thing can be done on the serger if you have it and you use it. Somebody was talking about on our I Love Cuddle group, we were talking about sergers and how they had a serger but didn't use it. And I had my serger for about a year and a half before I even opened the box. And then I realized how great they are. And thankfully, and the Triumph now is really super nice. I had a more basic model before, but it took me a while to realize why it was so great. And then once I did, I have not looked back. Okay, so now once I get to this point, so see if we can back up and you can kind of show what we've got is we've got all of this stuff over here. This is all that I've sewn so far, but now it's up in a tube. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is work my way, pulling the tube and sewing some more. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit like, I don't know what I'm doing, what it feels like. So believe in yourself, you can do it. It just does look weird. And at the end, it'll turn around and then we'll ta-da it. Okay, so now I've gotten to the point where I don't have any pins. I just have the one pin left. So I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to make sure not to stretch it because I really don't want to overstretch. And I'm just going to have to kind of guess where my pins should be. If you want to mark it more often because you're afraid that you'll get it off, you totally could. You just need to mark both sides. So there's my next mark. Let me pull that out just a little. And I can't pull it too far because it'll gets real bulky. You can see it adding up in there.
Oh, the hood shows up inside of the tube. Right
The hood will have to
the
come
foot.
through. Exactly. So you've got a bunch of big bulk there. And it'll work itself past and it'll be fine. I didn't have any trouble with it. It's really just a matter of making it work. Okay. All right.
There's a mythology about a snake eating its own tail, the Ouroboros. I feel like this is
a little bit like that.
A little like that.
A little like that. So definitely. So this is a time that the magnetized stiletto there is you really want to make sure that you're catching your edge. You've got it. Okay. And you can see that this wants to pull up. So I'm just going to pull it back just a little. Get it to feed in. Okay. Okay. As I go, I'm just going to kind of pull it just a little bit more, work itself down. Now I've got my mark. We'll see how close I got it. If I did, there it is. Okay. Yep, there we go.
Nice.
All right, so I'll mark that or pin that together at the mark. I'm going to pin it in between here. Just because more pins is easier, it's less fighting of the fabric. So get that laid out flat. Work my way around some more. And I can feel it start to like kind of bulk up over here, and then I know I have to pull it out some more.
Is the Seraflex, well, for starters, I want to ask you, how's it working so far?
So far, so good. It doesn't seem to be causing any issues. It's stitching really beautifully in the machine. It's really nice stitches.
Yeah, and is that new, and is it available on their website? Do you know that?
I believe it is. I'm not sure which shops have it, but I think it's probably something that if you ask some shops about, they'd be willing to get. My feeling is that probably places that sell more fashion fabric would have it. It's really made for sewing with knits and for sewing like active wear, that sort of thing. So shops that carry that sort of fabric are more likely to carry that kind of thread. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit more to find. They may have, I'm not sure if Ellen knows either, but they may have like a store locator on their website. They make a lot of different threads. It's kind of amazing the amount of thread that is available, actually. The varieties are vast. Okay. So we are coming around. I can see, here's my little white, there's my white stopping pin. So remember I put that in where the hood meets in the back. And I want to get just past that, and then I'll do a locking stitch and turn it inside out. Keep that nice and straight. So now I can pull this a little bit more. So you see I've got like a big tail back here, and I'm just going to pull this so that it kind of comes inside of itself. Get that to come out and lay a little bit flatter. All right, so there's definitely a portion where it doesn't want to come through as much. So you just got to kind of get past that point, and then it will feed out really nicely. Okay, and I want these to match, so I was just trying to ease it in the right way so that I could get the seam allowances to nest together there as well. And every once in a while I can feel some little bulk down there. So it's definitely a project that you're going to kind of use your fingers to make sure things are working right underneath as well. So I'm going to pull this around. And I'm going to get that. Okay, so that's close enough on the match on the back. And then I'm going to back stitch. And cut my thread. All right, so now this is part when we get to undo it. So this is a smaller one than I did before. This is about 2.5 inches. That's what that hole is. So we'll see how well that works. Okay, some of us like to not leave very big holes so we don't have to sew up a lot. That would be me. But sometimes I make that hole a little too small. Remember like the last week with the monster pillow?
Yeah, it was hard to turn inside out.
It was really hard to turn inside out. And I popped some stitches and I had to go back and fix it. So trying to...
I don't hear any stitches popping this time.
I don't, yeah, well, that thread better not, 'cause it's supposed to stretch. This would be the time that I would make it happen, though. This would be it. This is its test. Can it do it? It seems like, yes, it can. Okay, so the bulk of the hood is quite a lot. Got that through. We'll turn this. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Is that when we ta-da? Okay. There we've got it turned inside out. So at this point, you have the option of top stitching it or not. I would top stitch it, and that's totally what I would do. We don't have to today. Let me show you the top stitching that I have here, because there are a couple of different ways of doing it. Actually, would you hand me the one? Can you hand me the one behind you? Hold on. Okay, so this is one that I did for Hawk a while ago. We'll show the top stitching on it. Okay, and I did this. Oh, I don't even, it's not very even top stitching. This is an older fabric, so it's kind of funky. It's maybe a little bit more than a 3/8 of an inch top stitching that I did. It was not very good. And then this side I did more like a 1/2 an inch or so. And this is okay. And then this one that I did the other day, I decided I would do it at about 1 inch. And I really like the way that that looks. So on the back, I did a smaller, about a 1/2 an inch top stitching. And on the front, I did about 1 inch top stitching. So we could do that on here. I will have to change my thread out to do the top stitching, so I will do it later.
So you wouldn't use the stretchy flat thread for the top stitch?
I guess I could, couldn't I? Should we try it?
I don't see why not.
Are you guys willing to stick around? If I could get like, a yes or no, please go away. Let's see, we're getting thumbs up. Willing to stick around, and we'll see if we can top stitch it. Okay, so let me show you. We'll try it on and see how it works without the top stitching, because I think what will happen is the top stitching holds the fabrics together. So let's see if purple looks good on me. Okay, here we go. Well, it's really blue in the picture, isn't it?
It really is. This is
it's
a really beautiful purple.
It's very like royal purple. Oh, I really love it. So it's our viola. It's a really, really pretty color. Anyway, okay, so it hangs down here, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to swoop it over my head. Look at that. So cute. Okay, so you could totally wear it like this. We probably want to, sew up the hole in it. But right now, we've got it like this. Absolutely works. Ta-da. Okay. Really, I really like these a lot. These are super cute. It's such a great thing because I have a lot of jackets that don't have hoods. And sometimes I really just want my ears to stay warm, and especially my neck. Especially if you have short hair, I've had short hair for most of my life. I have longer hair now, but definitely when I've had shorter hair, my neck gets cold. Like, I want a hood. So this is great for that. All right, let's see about top stitching it. All right, whew, there we go. So now for this part, I'm going to use my Wonder Clips for this. I'm going to find, where's the hole that I left in it to turn it. Okay, so here, can you find the hole? Can you see it? It's almost impossible to find. There it is. Okay, so if you want to be super lazy and leave that, you are welcome to. All right, the other thing you can do is you can hand stitch this shut. I'm actually going to leave it for right now, and we're going to just top stitch this. Mostly because I don't have purple thread right now. And if I hand stitch this from this side, I guess I actually could use a dark thread. It's a dark blue, I think. Let's give it a try.
Looks like a navy.
It looks like a navy. Let me find my reading glasses. Otherwise, I will never be able to thread this hand sewing needle. Oh, look, there's already thread in it. Should I use it? It's brown. Probably. Will show. Bam.
Boom.
That was great. It's probably because I'm like, not a close-up.
That's all we got.
I know. It totally is. Okay, so now I'm going to sew this, and I'm just going to stick my needle in here. Okay, I always try to stick it through a little bit before I need to start closing it, because I can get it through the seam allowances that are back there. And that will sort of secure it. Because it's knit, sometimes we'll want to pop through the knit of it, because it tends to open up a little bit more. than others. Okay, so I do a ladder stitch. You could do a whip stitch if you wanted to. And you can see I'm not super careful about it. So then once I get it to a point that it's like starting to fold in on itself, then I can do this where I come across here. Sorry about the Band-Aid. Is it totally in the view?
No.
Okay.
Fine. Everything's fine.
Okay, good. Like hand stitching. All right, let's go. There we go. All right. So then I can get these across here. Like I said, if you want to, you can totally whip stitch that instead. Give it a good little tug. Now I will knot it. So I knot it twice. And then I always try to bury my threads. Okay, this makes it so that when you cut that, you're not going to cut it right next to there, and you're not as likely to have it pull out. So I just pull it somewhere else, snip it off, and it will sort of suck back into the fabric. And now we're good to go. All right, so after this, there's definitely some places here that are tucked in that we'll want to come back with our stiletto and lift those up. Okay, and pull them out of the seam. All right, so we can do that. One of the things that I suggest, though, is that you top stitch it first. So we're going to do that because one of the things about top stitching is it's hard to see that edge. We're actually going to try something that I do sometimes, which is I top stitch from this side instead of the outside. So what that means is that the outside might not be quite as perfectly straight, but I can also see it better. So it's kind of a twofer. It's kind of one or the other, actually. So let's see what we can do.
And it's reversible.
It's reversible, totally, 100%.
So,
and I really want to get it so that this is nice and even from that edge. And when it's the Luxe Cuddle, when I'm sewing from this side, it's much harder to see where that edge is. If I sew it from this side, I can really see where that edge is because the fabrics are different and easy to see. So that's one of the perks of doing it with two different kinds of fabrics rather than the same one on each. Okay.
Were there different sizes to this pattern, or is it a one size fits all?
It is a one size pattern. I'll show you the difference. There's a couple of different variations that she has, view A and view B, and they're really just smaller. What this view A extra large, is made for this fabric. So if you want to make it with a jersey, you're going to use one of these. If you want to use it with Cuddle, you're going to use this extra large. That was a great question. Yeah, she designed the pattern. She redid the pattern, Trish did, so that you could use it with Cuddle fabric. Okay, and that's the point there. So if you want to use that, if you want to use it with Cuddle fabric, you just use that outside extra large view A. All right, so technically there are different styles in it.
And then in theory, I suppose you could enlarge it if you wanted to make it bigger.
Mm-hmm. You could. I would probably try it out on fabric that you didn't necessarily love, just in case. Because, sometimes that happens. All right, are you ready?
So not Cuddle.
Maybe the Cuddle that, you have extra yardage of. I mean, then if it turns out great, you've got one. And if it doesn't turn out great, then you have one that you just don't wear in public as much. I don't know. I usually tend to like things made with Cuddle are usually workable no matter what. Okay, so this is, I want to make sure, this is my, what was that?
Give it to your uncle with the big head.
Your uncle with the big head, exactly. All right, so let's come around here and we're going to sew this. I'm going to sew it at a 3/8 inch-ish, okay? And then I'm going to up this to a 3.5 stitch length. So it'll sew a little bit faster. Hold on. My wonder clip back there got stuck. I forget that it does that. All right, we're just going to be able to plow right along this. And you can see how easy it is to see that edge. And the thing when I'm doing this is I want to make sure that this is nice and flat as I come around. So I'm just going to sort of work my way all the way. We'll try this one. Let's see how it works. So with the Cuddle on the top, it's really easy to see where my edge is, so I can kind of just bust along Plus it's a larger stitch length. So it's nice and quick. And again, I'm sewing on the Baby Lock Crescendo today. Almost back there. All right, so we're going to come back around. And because I've done this with gray thread, if I wanted it to match, that's what I was thinking. I would change the thread because then it would match better. But really, who's going to notice? Nobody. Because honestly, can you tell that it's light gray thread? Probably not. Right? It just hides in there. If we pull it up, you can sort of see that there's some light gray in there. If you want to hide it, you're just going to use your little stiletto and come over that and cover all of these here. All right. So I'm going to do the other side too. I think we can whip through it pretty quick. Let's try it.
Sounds like it's about to be a done deal.
I think it is. I think we're just going to do it. All right. All right. Now, because that works so easily, I'm going to get cocky and I'm just going to do it without pins so I can hold it down. So all I did is I just found a space on my machine that I'm like, oh, that looks like a good distance. And I'm just going to eyeball that all the way around it. So if I were doing this with 2 layers of the Luxe Cuddle, I would probably be more likely to want to pin it carefully. The Cuddle 3 is really pretty stable with not wanting to slip against things. So I feel like it's a safer choice to do with this. Okay. So for here, I can see that it wants to pull this way a little bit. So what I'm going to do is as soon as I start noticing that stuff, I pin it. And then it keeps it where I want it to be. Okay, so try to keep it in position a little bit. Take my pin out. This is the front of my hood. Did that scare you, Hawk, when my stiletto just fell down on my foot?
Yeah, yeah, because your foot is bare.
It is. So be careful when you're sewing. Don't throw your stiletto on the floor. Oh, I really should be more careful. All right, we're going to come around, come back, around to the middle. So like I said, if I were being more careful, I would totally clip this. The Wonder Clips are pretty darn good for it. This would be a place that you could use the larger jumbo clips too. You have those because those will clip in further. Look at that. Come right back around. Ta-da. There was. There's the ta-da. We got all the way around. There we go. I'm going to clip that little bit of thread that's hanging out there. Come on. Got some threads here from where I started.
That purple may not be showing up great on camera, but the multicolor glitter is really.
Woo! Look at that. Rad. That's great. Yeah, all right, there we go. Okay, now we'll try it on again and see how that works. And then we have a winner. All right, so let's try this. Hey, do you notice if it lays any different? I can't really tell. I think that it's not quite as fluffy feeling around my face, which is nice.
Yeah, it feels like it.
It feels like
it has more shape.
Yeah. Ta-da. There we go. Yay. All right. So now we've got a cute little scarf. This, you can see, if you use the 2 colors, it'll kind of come around and do a couple of different things. You can make sure and arrange those nicely so that it shows. It's very, very hard to do, like, without really being able to see what I'm doing very well. Okay. I really like it. It's super nice. All right. So we have a winner for today. Thank you for joining us. This is the Darcy Hooded Infinity Scarf from Trish Newbery. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for sharing the video with your friends. Today's winner is Betty G of, I think that's Massachusetts. So send us a private message on Facebook. So just message us here to Shannon Fabrics and include your mailing address and all that good information. And we will ship a Cuddle Quilt kit out to you. We'll be back next week. We're making that guy. There he is. That guy right there. Oh, no That's what we're doing next week. Very excited about it. I also made him in Luxe Cuddle. Check it out. You're going to come around? Look at I made him in Luxe Cuddle too. Oh. Okay, so we'll be doing this guy next week. This is from Melly and me. It's the Buddy Bear. So if you want to get a jump start on that, we will be doing that. So we're back to stuffed animals again, because who doesn't love stuffed animals? So make sure you join us next week. Also, you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can get all the alerts for our videos and such. You can sign up for the, like I said, for the newsletter on our blog. And that way you'll get notification of the projects that we're doing, and what do you call them? The list of materials that we need, a materials list for the next project as well. Okay. And then also join our I Love Cuddle group that is on Facebook. It's a great group of people who love sewing with Cuddle, and they share all their different projects and questions and tutorials, and I share inside tips there. So all sorts of stuff. So join us there. And until next week, happy sewing.